Hi there, and welcome to Plant CEO. In today's episode, I'd like to welcome Margaux Khoury, the co-founder of Impact Veganics. Hi, Margaux, how are you?
Hello, Anant. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. You're based in Canada at the moment, on the east coast of Canada, right?
Yes, right now I'm on the East Coast. We do call the West Coast home, however.
Yeah, very good. And that's
Hmm.
in Nelson is home for you.
Nelson's home. Yeah, Nelson, British Columbia.
Lovely. So let's start with what your and your partner's background story is to create a deodorant brand.
Hmm. Absolutely, yes. So Joshua and I actually we have a really lovely story. We met in high school and we have been best friends ever since. We share a common love for business. So basically, we went through real estate development together, won many awards for that. Have did that on the East Coast for a long time. We opened up a juice bar. We've done almost everything in the entrepreneurial world. So we were at the time before we had the deodorant, we were really young, but also we started to feel a little bit unwell. So we were having some health issues. Went to an amazing doctor. We were in Kelowna, British Columbia at the time, and he unbelievably attributed our health issues to some of the toxins, that like the chemicals that we were using, which is very, very rare for a medical doctor at the time. And so he, instead of prescribing anything, he basically took out some supplements from his pocket and said, please go get these from the local health food store, and gave us some nutritional advice and to change our diet and our lifestyle. So we changed everything. Actually, I had no idea. Mattresses and couches, they all have they off gas these toxic chemicals, proven toxic chemicals, and changed all my bathroom items. The last thing we could not find was a deodorant that works. So with his amazing brains and marketing, and I just kind of hit the kitchen and made our own. We never intended it for it to be a real business. It was to satisfy a personal need, but friends started using it and we got it into a few local stores at the time. And we didn't know the demand would be so big. There weren't any ethical vegan natural deodorants that worked on the market. So we created it and decided to have a little business, and it was a side hustle for so long, many, many years. It was just, fulfilling our need and also bringing in kind of our livelihood. It wasn't until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that we decided to take it seriously. Joshua, there was a lump in his chest that had developed, and won't go into too much detail about this, but the lump had to be removed. He had surgery. Actually, he ended up having surgery twice in 1 week. The second time, we almost lost him. He literally, it was a blood clot, and it opened up, and he was bleeding on the inside. And so we almost lost Joshua, the father of my children. And we had to make a decision to, like a big life decision, shut down the company, or make it really huge and spend the quality time that we need, make it worth it. And we decided that the demand and the company was just such a beautiful thing. We rebranded to what it is today, which is completely in line with our ethics, with our values, do no harm for the earth, animals, and our bodies. So that's a really high level story about us.
Yeah, so firstly, I'm glad Joshua pulled through. So really happy that he's healthy and well. And also amazing that you were childhood sweethearts and together from the beginning days there as well to create this company that you've created today. So on the deodorant side, what ingredients are there that are harmful for your bodies in today's deodorants that are available?
That's a great question. There are so many. The one that comes to mind and that's written about a lot is that aluminum, because so we have to remember where we're putting this product. It's one of the most sensitive areas, and it's really easily absorbed. So when there's anything like aluminum or triclosan or propylene glycol or any of the known studied toxic chemicals, that goes right into our body. And because aluminum, I mean, it was an amazing invention. It was supposed to be an amazing invention because it blocks odor and it blocks sweat. So we are actually, as humans, we're not supposed to block those sweat glands. We're supposed to sweat. Sweating is part of that natural release of our, things that we don't need, our toxins in the body. But of course, it's taboo in our day and age to sweat, right? So our product, and when you have a really natural product, a good one will absorb the sweat and the odor after it leaves the body, sort of before it hits the clothing. So it's really absorbing it, but it's not clogging anything like aluminum. So I encourage people to actually look into this themselves. Google how harmful aluminum is to the body, and come to your own conclusions. And even companies are starting to switch that product because it frankly should be banned. It should be illegal to be in our skincare.
Yeah. If you had to guess, or if you know the stats, how much of the existing products do contain, like percentage wise, if you were gonna?
If I was to take a guess, it's a big, a huge percentage, but I'm not going to guess a number because I don't know. But if you go to store shelves right now, or even especially the Walmarts and the places that don't really have the natural items as much as a Whole Foods will be way less. Walmart, Target will be way more, so it's usually the conventional brands, and they still contain all of what I just mentioned. Yeah. And much more, right? So
that will be relevant for multiple ways that you apply the deodorant, whether it's a spray, a roll-on, a stick, for example. They will all include those harmful chemicals.
Yes, most of the time, yes. Simple as reading the ingredients and seeing what's in there. Sometimes, though, ingredients, this is the tricky thing with this industry. We've had to really dig through the muddy waters of the skincare industry. And it's frankly very scary when it comes to animal abuse. That's a different topic I know we'll talk about in a few minutes. But when it comes to the toxic chemicals for our own body, even a word like fragrance, if you see fragrance on a label, that can have that one word is allowed to contain like 7 or more, hundreds and hundreds of different ingredients within that one word. So perfume and fragrance are also not healthy. It's like the Febreze, or it's like it's an endocrine disruptor and so much more, and it wreaks havoc on our immune system. And so and just a side note, because there's so much hand sanitizer lately, for this last year and ongoing, what is inside of a hand sanitizer is definitely worth researching, because triclosan and all the other ingredients that I mentioned, it's really weird because we want to strengthen our immune system during this time, COVID, et cetera. But what that is doing is weakening our immune system. So it's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're right there. And the list is long of some of these ingredients, including talc.
Like talcum powder?
Talcum powder, yes. Yes, the old baby powder.
Yeah, and that's also bad.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, if you go to the EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group.org, EWG.org, if you type in any of these ingredients, talc, triclosan, whatever I mentioned, or whatever, if you read a label, if you type those in, they have a standard, they have a rating system for how toxic they actually are and what they do to the body. So just for simplicity, I encourage you to do that. EWG is still probably the best resource that we have in the industry.
Okay. So I remember obviously when there's babies, they might put talc quite a lot, when changing nappies and stuff. So
yes,
I'm surprised that it hasn't been spoken about enough, I guess.
Yes, and Johnson & Johnson has had a really bad rep from the people who are studying this in the natural world. But if you notice, the new baby powders and some of the ones on the market now do not have talc in them. Right. Even like cornstarch does the same thing, or whatever. It's like anything because talc is used to absorb the moisture, yes, and prevent diaper rashes and all of that. But you can, arrowroot powder is a beautiful substitute for anything like that. And that is one of the ingredients in our deodorant. And it's just, there's really an alternative and substitute for everything, which also minimizes the probability of animal testing, because when you have a chemical, chances are 100% it's been tested before a human, before it comes to the market. Whereas the more natural ingredients, I'm not saying they're 100% cruelty-free, because shea butter has been tested on animals at some point. But it's, the chances are higher if you use a natural product that it's less cruel.
Yeah. So what are the other ingredients inside your products, your deodorant that you're
I'm happy to go through them all. And like, if you have any questions about specifics, but yeah, so I mentioned arrowroot powder. That would be the one. There's arrowroot powder. There's also, we have a clay, two different types of clay in our product, for many reasons, because of the antibacterial properties, and also because clay, bentonite and kaolin specifically, absorb toxins and odor, by the way. Not sure. I mean, I remember learning this, and so many people do not know this yet, but odor is caused, like our sweat is actually supposed to be odorless. Normally, like odorless, unless it varies here and there. A clean diet, for example, will also help with the odor. But it's really the bacteria that is from what we eat or what we consume, our environment, that changes and causes that odor. So if we can absorb that, then that's what a good deodorant will do. So we also have zinc oxide. The butters are shea butter, coconut oil, candelilla wax, because we don't use beeswax. It's completely vegan. So that's actually a perfect one-to-one replacement for beeswax, if anyone's listening who has beeswax in their product and wants to replace. And we have zinc. Also, we do have, well, our preservative is vitamin E. So it's a very natural preservative, and the shelf life is just as long as the other, non-natural preservatives. We have vitamin C. We also have very specific oils, not just for the beautiful scent, the peppermint and the bergamot, but also because they're proven to be antibacterial and antiseptic and really good for the skin. So they're very healing. And then there's sage. We also have sage. I will mention, sage Dalmatian. We have the oil from it. It's extracted. They're all ethically sourced as much as we possibly can at any moment. And also we do have baking soda in the product, which we have, throughout the iterations and the formulations over the years, realized that baking soda or any natural ingredient can be very irritating. So we have formulated, baking soda is very specific. It does a great job absorbing odor and gives it an amazing consistency, but we changed it to almost the perfect amount, because it really, based on the body's pH and also the detox period, that's what causes irritation. So we formulated it with an expert who is very familiar with how these ingredients irritate the skin.
So how important do you think it is that products today are both vegan and cruelty-free at the same time, not just one or the other?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think both are absolutely important, and both can mean different things. However, it's just, I can talk a long time about this topic, so please pull me back if I'm talking too much, but it's critically important that we hear and we know about this, because our research shows that most products on the shelf that do have been tested on an animal, or the ingredients have been tested on an animal. And unfortunately, products are allowed to say cruelty-free because the finished product, as a whole, is cruelty-free. However, if we dig deep enough and see, check out the ingredients, some of them have been used on animals and violently tested on an animal. So right now, the only thing we can do as founders of companies is call the companies, find out as much as we can. If someone can visit factories and scope out even more, that would be the best. Hopefully one day soon, that will be in the past. Hopefully there is no need. It's so unnecessary to test anything, even food products, on an animal. And it's been proven by science. If it's tested on a rat or a bunny, it doesn't mean anything in a human, and it's unnecessary.
There's some countries that are, the government tells them that the beauty products, cosmetic products need to be tested on animals before they're launched. Which are the main countries that have that policy?
The one that I know of is China. There's other Asian countries as well, possibly some in the Arabic speaking countries, but also maybe, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I only knew China because that is where our supply chain started. So we started with several ingredients because a company like ours, a startup, we want the most affordable in bulk product. And unfortunately, that's what's happening, is they're producing it in bulk there. We have decided to source our ingredients as much as we can from North America, but also from companies and people and farmers that are growing them sustainably. So our next step is that shea butter that I mentioned. There are farms out there that are growing, that are producing and selling shea to companies that is way more sustainable. So for us as pioneers, as companies like ours, it is going to be more expensive because it is what it is. The demand isn't high yet. But the more we do this and the more companies do this, that's why I love encouraging other companies to look at that, the cheaper it's going to get. So yeah, that's a real issue, that cruelty-free piece. Now, another thing we can look at is there are certifications that help with that too. So we did our own research. Our supply chain is clean. That could change. We have to stay on top of it. Suppliers change all the time. Demand changes. So a good company will stay on top of it. There are certifications like B Corp. They don't test for the cruelty, but they're amazing. There's also, we're PETA certified. We're 100% PETA certified, and we have been for years. And we proudly display that logo. And of course, there are ingredients that are not vegan, that are cruelty-free as well. So our ingredients are also, of course, there are no animal products, animal ingredients in the deodorant.
So thinking about the consumer, do you think, these certifications will add to confusion? Like, which ones should they trust? When they're looking to buy something, should they just trust that that they've written that it's a vegan formula or it's cruelty-free, or should they actually look for the labels, which adds a process, and maybe it's even processes to do with ISO certifications, etc., or B Corp that you mentioned. What are the certifications that people should look for, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, it is really difficult. If we're talking on the consumer level, not the company looking at products, but on the consumer level, I do feel for consumers, because as a consumer myself, it is quite confusing. There's Vegan Society has a wonderful certification. I know they have their hearts are in the right place. They're doing an amazing job. So there's that certification. It's very familiar now.
Yes.
And PETA is one of the most familiar ones. And they also, I know that they have staff that checks in on companies as well. There's nothing perfect outside of actual consumers like us who care. A lot of people I know care. So there is, we can dig deep and research ourselves, which is time consuming. The EWG website is amazing for the toxic side. And then the cruelty-free side, it's the only thing we can do is call the suppliers and dig deep and ask them the hard questions. And as I said, hopefully one day in the future, this won't even be necessary. It's not really our job. Having said that, I want to say that I think the consumer has a certain amount of responsibility, but as a company owner, I think the responsibility also lies on my shoulders and all company owners to only provide products for consumers that are cruelty-free, and further than that, that are not harming the environment with a ton of plastic. Recognizing that some products, it's really hard to stay away from plastic components, like a shampoo bottle or something, but the technology is out there. We just have to seek for it and ask for it. And the times come where the world really cannot handle any more destructive packaging. So it's up to us to provide. Ours is 100% biodegradable, and we're really proud of it because also the inks are non-toxic. We use plant-based inks. So
how hard was it to find those companies that will supply the packaging and those inks?
Yes, it was challenging. We had to, I think our packaging, I may be off on this one, but the company we use for packaging that is overseas still, that's the only component of our entire product that comes from overseas. She had to source the plant-based inks, if I remember correctly. So, but it's possible, that's the thing. It's absolutely possible. And the more companies do this, the easier it's going to be for all of us. And I really feel it's our responsibility as company owners, as I said, to stock the shelves with things like this. So
yeah. And your packaging, your product, first of all, is a tub.
Yes.
And that tub is biodegradable as well. So you can actually put it, if you put it in water, it'll disintegrate after 90 days, or you could put it in the compost heap, for example, right?
Yes, right in your backyard. I've put it in our plants just to show the progression of how it disappears. It literally disappears off the earth. It's beautiful. It goes right into the soil. And there are products that do that have components, like I said, the inks. We have to be careful because that causes our water supply and the flowers, and it's really important. So our standards are quite high as a company for that. So anything we launch in the future, and we have had a push-up stick in the past that I've launched, but anything in the future that we launch will certainly be in this type of packaging, or we won't launch it yet.
Yeah, and I think you can use your tub to grow seeds and starter seeds so that you can then replant afterwards. Is that right?
Yes. Our CMO at Kyle is in the company. He's fantastic at doing this. He stuffs the jar with dirt and seeds and grows these beautiful things. And you can put succulents in it, and it can be a beautiful part of your everyday life too. So it's amazing. Yeah.
So why do you think the large cosmetic brands aren't moving fast enough towards vegan formulations and plastic-free packaging and products?
Wow, that's it is a loaded question, because the large companies, so I'm not going to assume what's in their mind at all, but we all know that when it's especially if it's like a very cheaper product, it does come down to money a lot of the times, because the plastic and the cheap ingredients are cheaper to produce for sure. And I don't think maybe some of them care about that more, maybe not. I'm not saying they all don't care about the earth, but that's changing too. And I think that companies are going to be almost pushed or forced to make a switch to more sustainable. It's going to be almost taboo. I feel that, just like I'm hoping that even eating an animal product or a real, like a meat-based burger, is going to be like something people hide, so it's like taboo for the environment. I feel the same thing right now. Plastic straws, if you see plastic straws in someone's cup, or if it's plastic, deep down we're judging them, or something, and that's just one example. I mean, not us, but it's just a thing now. It's like people know, and plastic bags are being eliminated. Now it's all the paper bags and Whole Foods and everywhere. So, it just, like, subconsciously people know that it's just the right thing to do. And consumers too, this is where we come in. It's up to us to demand it and vote with our wallet and say, we want this brand. We want to buy this biodegradable brand, not this brand over here. Even, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And I hope that the cost of these companies, and maybe these alternative packaging companies, need more investment to make their products more scalable, so their cost of those goods comes down. That makes it more accessible for other brands to sort of take that on. Because in reality, also, like, from the consumer point of view, when they see products on the shelf, how far can they be swayed? How much more can they put on, pay for these products before they say, well, which one should I have, right? Should I have the cheap one that is harmful? And it's like really an ethical question that consumers
Yes.
make. That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to the product that we're trying to create specifically, we're staying very competitive. There's product out there that's just as much or more, and it's not in biodegradable packaging at all, or there's plastic components in it. So as much as possible, yes. And I feel that the consumer of today, to be honest, based on some market research that's already been done, and based on my experience in the stores that we've been in, consumers of today are seeking companies, and they want to support companies that stand for something, or that stand for justice, like whether it's the sustainability aspect, the vegan aspect, things like that.
So how important is it that brands do stand up for justice? Like in your case, it's, it's justice for animals and the planet. But a lot of companies are scared to. How important is it that they are purpose-led?
Well, I think it's hugely important. And I think what's happening now is that, again, it's like things are shifting so strongly for companies that if they're not purpose-driven, or if they don't have a social component, it's also like, whoa, what are they doing? It almost feels like they're in the dark ages still. Marketing wise, I'm not saying this is why we do it or why companies should do it. It's an amazing decision to align ourselves with something, because consumers, as I said, do care. However, I think for the education piece, I mean, we're taking a stand on so many things that frankly could be more profitable if we did not take a stand, like, at this very moment. However, it's important because as a company owner and as a company like ours, in the grand scheme of things, we're still very, very small. We're not a huge L'Oreal or Sephora or something. However, it's a beautiful thing when I see other companies like ours taking that stand, and it encourages and inspires other companies to do it too. That's what's needed at that level. To me, that's more of a systemic change than an individual change. Me saying on the street, don't buy plastic, don't consume animal products, like one-on-one, which is amazing. Some people do this, but I'm more inspired by the systemic changes, changing farms to plant-based, or what people are doing in the subsidy level, the government subsidies. So in a company like ours, long way to answer your question, I think it's hugely important.
Yeah. And going back to the subsidies is really important, especially when you look at industries like the meat and the fish industry that are propped up by taxpayers' money. But we also want plant-based companies to get those subsidies, right, for producing healthier alternatives that are less harmful for the planet when producing these items as well.
It's huge. It's huge. Absolutely, we want. So it's interesting what's happening right now. There are a couple of organizations petitioning or encouraging governments to change their subsidies. The smartest and most amazing thing to do would be to not say stop the subsidies. We don't want that in the animal agriculture or something. But what we need to do is encourage them to transition, like to transfer by, in a way, use the same money, but supporting sustainable, like veganic agriculture. Agriculture that's not emitting so much pollution and methane, which is stronger than CO2 into our earth. And and I read about a company just today that in all their recipe books, I don't think they're a vegan company, but all their recipe books have now switched from meat. They don't have any meat or animal products, dairy in their recipes anymore. They switched to plants, and they said a comment which I love. They said, "This is not anti-meat; it's pro-environment."
Oh wow!
And
okay.
it's pretty powerful.
It was a traditional recipe collection of books.
Big one, yeah. I think it's a bigger company, very well known, and so it's happening because we can't deny it. We're all environmentalists at heart. We love our earth, and so, well, most of us.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on watching See Spirity, and obviously that impact that documentary had, and just the way the oceans are dying? I had the pleasure to interview both Ali Tabrizi, the director, and Captain Paul Watson, who both came on the show. So I have some insights from the filming of that documentary, but it's gained a lot of traction, both positive and negative in some people's eyes. And yeah, just wanted to get your views on the documentary and, you know, what your thoughts are.
Oh my goodness. As much as we knew about what was happening all these years, it's been since 2010 or something that we started talking climate and realizing what's happening to our climate, reading beautiful work like George Monbiot, who was in the documentary, and reading all of these things. He's been talking about it for a long time. And, you know, that David Attenborough documentary came out and it was eye-opening. However, we still, watching See Spirity still was a shock, like it's shocking what's actually literally happening around this earth right now. It's shocking that it's not criminalized more, and that, you know, it's accepted. However, that was such a beautiful piece to create awareness. And I resonate with it so much because I mentioned the plastic issue. It's how easy would it be for a company like ours just to slap their product in a plastic tube that exists everywhere? It's so affordable, and our ROI goes up and everything. It's so easy to do. It's everywhere. Put it on the shelf, you know, and bada boom, there's our product, and consumers will buy it. But to your first point about how important it is for companies like ours to stand for justice, this is the thing. Anyone watching Seaspiracy will know the plastic issue, which of course is mainly from the fishing industry.
Yeah.
You know, the majority of the plastic in our oceans does not come from straws or whatever. It comes from the junk that's left from the, yes, exactly. All of the fishing industry. Yeah. And then the bycatch, like it was shocking to see like the byproducts that are the animals that are trapped in nets, that's not their product, and then thrown into the garbage or supermarkets. So all that to say, you know, this is we can do our small part. This is a deodorant. It's just so, in the grand scheme of things, this is what this is, but it's like an example of what can be for our earth and our oceans. And there's a direct link to, all of it.
What motivates you to fight for justice for these animals? And if you think back from, you know, when you were growing up, was there something that sort of resonated with you? And now you're also helping animal charities too.
Yes. Oh, my favorite thing to talk about, because it's who I am. And we rebranded for this to be the vision of the company. Animal liberation to me is also human liberation, meaning we are exploiting the natural world to such a degree that 24 species of wild animals are going extinct every single day. And if we're not worried about that, then there's a problem, because eventually it's going to affect humanity, and it already is. It has been for a long time. So learning about the extinction of wild animals and the beautiful chain of life, learning about also what veganism means, which isn't a diet. Veganism extends well beyond the diet. It is actually a lifestyle, and living non-violently and as compassionately as possible. So as much as practically possible, being vegan means avoiding the exploitation or the commodification of any animals in our life. And that is so much more powerful than what we have on our plate, which is also a huge part of it. I love talking about being a mom as well. I'm a mother of 3 children, and my children have been vegan since birth. I had 3 vegan pregnancies, very healthy, successfully, and we're just thriving. But I mention it because, for 2 reasons. Because of course, you know, people didn't understand it. They thought we were abusing the children somehow. But luckily, I was very stubborn, and I researched it, and I realized that this is the optimal for the children. And I also mention it for another reason, the nursing. I was a nursing mom as well. And I remember my first child thinking, because I would still, like 11 years ago, I went vegan, and, you know, dairy slips into our life quite easily. And so as a nursing mom, I won't dive in too much about this, but it's important to realize that I don't want my child taken away from me to another pen, to be isolated, so that my milk can be for someone else. And that is the activist in me, but also the human in me saying, we need to take a stand. This is wrong, what's happening. And if we look up what's happening in the dairy industry right now, there is nothing right about it. And I want the farmers to survive by switching their what they're doing, their production, to plants, because it's possible. So when I realized that, then I knew that I couldn't align myself. I'd rather not be in business at all or have a company if it is going to be exploiting any animals. So that's where sort of a lot of that stemmed from.
Yeah, and there's so much more that farmers can do, right, in the regenerative farming side, and the growth of the plant-based industry, especially food-wise, with the sort of alternative products they can create. And I think a huge part of it is probably an educational challenge to say, actually, your animals can be kept in a sanctuary, and you can grow oats or mushrooms or peas or these other types of proteins and plants. So I think it just you just need to have that conversation to get that started, right?
Absolutely. That is the conversation starter. And it's farmers, many of them are looking for a way out, to be frank, because it's not an easy life to do that. And the Barrett family farm is a shining example of what's happening. And I just want to highlight their story for just 2 seconds, if you'll allow that. Yeah. It's so beautiful because they went vegan. And if anyone sees their videos, that it's a lovely story. This family went vegan, and Jennifer Barrett and Rodney, they continued their poultry production and what they had to do, but it was not in alignment at all. It was very hard. And so they have now decided to they already did. There's no more chickens being exploited on that farm. And she talks about it so openly. They also saved over 250 cows, and the babies were allowed to stay with them. So now it's basically this huge sanctuary where these cows will live out the rest of their day. And they are transitioning to plant-based farming. So it's a beautiful story.
I'm Jennifer Barrett, and this is my husband Rodney, and we are here in Wicks, Arkansas, where we've lived for 20 years. Up until last September, we were raising chickens here in these chicken houses and raising cattle. We are now vegan and going to convert our poultry barns into growing mushrooms.
To start something for the future, it's much more sustainable than what we were doing, and a whole lot better for humanity. They bring a crate into the building. You can see that crate, and then you got 5 or 6 guys that'll be loading that crate while the loader goes out to get another crate. And when he comes in with that one and sets it down, then he'll pick up the one they just filled up, take it out, get another one, bring it back in, and it's just a back and forth until they clean that whole house out. Each truckload, there'll be about, somewhere between probably 4,500 and 5,000 chickens to the truck.
When I was in high school, the very first batch that they caught, I cried because I just was so upset that I knew they were all going to go be slaughtered. So I just detached myself from this. So watching this right now it's hard. That this was the most hellish situation. A person, a bird, I don't even understand why this even exists or how I ever participated in it.
I mean, they'd go in that doorway right there and they would load that box, and then they would run outside and vomit because there were so many dead birds piled up in them houses that the growers quit going in there getting. Can you imagine how gross that is? I mean, that is some nasty mess.
Yeah.
And people are eating the chickens that come out of them buildings.
Coming to realize that I'd been taking babies away from their mamas, I think that's been the hardest thing. But it's stunning. It's stunning to me that I was like, how did I not see it? How did I not? The last time we took babies to the sale, the mothers were just like waiting,
bawling,
crying, bawling. Babies were crying, bawling. This is all this chaos, which I used to only hear as like, it annoyed me. You know, we're down there working and I'm like, what? I can't hear you. And that kind of thing. And like, but that time I was like, these are mothers crying for their babies. But now, knowing that every baby that's been born here since then gets to stay with its mom, gets to stay with its mother, and the mother gets to keep her baby. I don't want to curse, but I don't know how I ever fucked with that.
You mentioned also supporting other organizations. The way I keep going and what I'm inspired by is that a company like ours can eventually make a big difference. You know, keep supporting. So the Barrett Family Farm, we want to share their story, and we had a campaign with them, and it was beautiful. And then also, you mentioned See Spirity. Well, documentaries. This is what allowed me to go vegan. This is why my friend Sean's movie, which is Earthlings, the reason I started on this path. And so our companies decided that that's something else we want to support. Nation Earth has been on the list, and we have a kind of an ongoing campaign with them as well. So exciting things for the future.
Yeah. And so what's next for Impact Veganics, and what are your plans over the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We just want to, number one, continue doing the right thing for our product, of course, to provide consumers a product that they deserve, more products that they deserve. And we want the education piece, as I mentioned earlier, to be a big part of that. In other words, we could have a product company and that's it. They buy the deodorant, they love it. We have faithful customers. Or we can have the deodorant company grow it to more products, but also provide the literature and reasons why we're doing it and why we're standing so strongly on the side of justice for all, people, animal, and planet. So yeah, my hope is that we continue to do that and align ourselves with amazing people like yourself, Anant, and share your amazing work and your podcast, because you're doing such a phenomenal job. And I am
much.
Yeah, hats off to you too. So
thanks. And your products are they ship globally. Like you can buy your products not just in Canada, right?
Not just in Canada, they're globally. Yes, we are global. We've sold all over the world already. And we're now, our retail expansion plan also will be growing and quite aggressive, like starting in Texas and then onward in the United States. And so we have plans for that retail side as well as that e-commerce side to support our local stores and allow customers to make a decision as well. So
fantastic. And so I think you're looking to potentially open up with some, health stores and boutiques, which would work well for you, right? In the US as well.
Yes, in the US as well. We do have some stores in Canada currently, and we're looking at expansion there. Our CEO is actually right in Texas, so it's a very easy transition to start. We're doing an amazing retail expansion plan there, sort of our pilot for the United States, and then growth from there. So the product will be all over store shelves, and hopefully consumers will recognize that the natural and the non-toxic needs to happen.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
We can send very effective products. So
yeah. So let's hope we have more products coming out from your range, but also other companies start to take note, especially from the natural ingredient side, but also more importantly, also with the plastic-free packaging and the biodegradable side as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, that will happen. We're very excited about that, and we also. We have an amazing customer base that we love and support. They've been with us since the beginning. And so they continue to come back and purchase more product. It makes me feel so good because we know it's working. And anything we launch in the future, we want to make sure it's the best for them, for their bodies, and show people they don't have to harm any living thing to have an incredible product.
For sure. So yeah, thank you so much, Margaux, for coming on the show and having this chat today. It's great to have you on, and wish you the best of luck going forward as well.
Thank you so much for having me on, and it's been such a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to hearing more from you as well. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.